So, welcome, Mick.
Mate.
It's been a long bloody time getting this organised.
Yeah, I'm not the best at admin.
You are shocking at admin. But anyway, oh, no. Anyway, so if anyone listening, Mick and I have been trying to do this for, well, I don't know. It's probably 2 years, and we keep bumping into each other down the street because we live in the same area. And I'm like, when we doing that podcast? And he says, yeah, send me that stuff, mate. And then we don't do it. So we've finally pinned each other down, and we're
Yeah, we're
doing.
here now, mate.
I know, it's fantastic. So, Mick, I wanted there's a few things I want to talk to you about. You're a fascinating fella, and even now you're sitting in your car. Somebody's unloading a load of wood off the back of your car while we're chatting, and I reckon that's this is what this is what it's about. Sometimes we pretend and put on a big face, and oh, my life's so bloody perfect and organized and everything else, and it never is. And people need to get off that wagon and just say it and show it as it is, because we're all trying to squeeze stuff in, aren't we?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And look, honestly, how hard is it to live a life where you're just pretending you are something that you're not? I
No.
mean, I'm pretty open about it. I love music, but I love to work. I effectively try and make two wages so my partner Beck can be a stay-at-home mum and do that. So
Yeah.
you're never not working, but that's what you do to look after your kids.
No, bloody oath. That's what I always say to people. If life was one big party, I'd just be traveling around the world. It'd be bloody fantastic. But we do need to put food on the table, and we all, we all have a life that is it's never perfect. So, and speaking of not perfect, and I reckon this is perfect. I'm just going to say to you, start straight up, right? I've got saw envy. Now, you've got a bench saw that you put out. Well, I'm going to call it a bench saw, but it's like this giant bloody thing that you put out in the paddock, and you're a big fella. You throw a log up onto it, and you're sawing this bloody saw, into sections so that it can be chopped. Now, I've got this tiny little bloody steel chainsaw, and when yours takes about 3 seconds, and mine takes about 3 hours to cut through a bit. I've got envy because I've been watching that saw of yours, and I've been looking for one. I can't find one. I
Yeah,
love it.
look, it's an absolute ripper. It's called a Raptor bench saw, and honestly, I think I've cut in the last 2 years. I've cut basically 3,000 cubic meters of wood with it.
Wow.
And all it needed is sharpen here or there, and just a brilliant piece of gear, and it just makes my life a lot easier. Not sharpening a chainsaw every 5 minutes.
Oh, that's the problem, isn't it? I'm writing that down, Raptor bench saw, because we have gum trees that fall down, a lot, and it's, oh my God, the chainsawing, and we're now getting a bit older, and we're looking for ways to, like, how can we make that easier? How can we make that easier? But I love it. I've got envy.
Yeah,
I have
and
shed envy too.
for little branches, it's just really simple and easy. It's like any bit of big equipment. You just got to make sure you follow your OHS guidelines and stuff. But it's pretty
Yeah.
simple. If I can operate it, I'm certain that you would be able to do it, Karen.
Oh, I know I could. I build sheds, and anything a man can do, I can do better. No, I'm
And
not
well,
really.
you're guaranteed to follow the instructions better anyway.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So, speaking of wood, because this is your job, you go around chopping up trees, and I'm not minimizing it, like, because by Jesus, it's a great job, and you go. I've seen you just throw tons and tons and tons of wood in a day. Like you're a bloody machine with it. But how does a wood chopper? And I'm not saying that I love that. You know that song. I'm a lumberjack and I don't care. I don't know why. See, you're a muser. You're making me sing all these dicky songs. But how do you go from being a wood chopper to going to The Voice? Because you were on The Voice in, I think it was 2021.
Yep.
Was it 2021?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yep.
And you went all the way to the grand final, which I'm going to talk about. But what makes you go? What was the decision in your head that you just said, damn it, I'm going on The Voice. I don't care. I'm doing it.
Well, look, I'd played pub gigs and stuff like that in my local area since I was probably 15 years old. I love it. I've always loved music. I've loved art of all descriptions, poetry, writing, music, all that. But I just thought it's a really good opportunity to just have a crack at something. I'd probably say I've never been the best at anything I've done. But that has never stopped me from having a go at it. Like I was a really bad professional boxer. I wasn't a good dancer. I've done that, but it's expanded me as a person and show me something new. And I thought, why not have a crack at it? I might not turn a chair, but we'll just have a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I love that attitude. Wait, I can't help this. I've got to tell you this story. You said you've been playing since you were 15. I started also playing when I was 15 and played in pubs. And I played in this band, and people have heard this story before, but that we had a female singer, and one night she just didn't show up, and the boys in the band said, well, you'll have to sing. We had a gig the next night out at the Darnham pub, and the boys said, well, you'll have to sing. And I said, I can't sing. And they said, why not? You're a girl. And that was their whole reasoning that I should sing. And I did sing, and it was bloody awful. And people were throwing money, and you know how people throw money, like it's like you're great. Here's some money. It wasn't that. Yeah. I reckon it was, here's some money. Shut the hell up. It's so bloody awful.
Yeah, so that's a good one. I played a gig in a small pub. I won't mention what pub, but I played a gig in a small pub when I was I was probably 21, and someone didn't like the fact that I was playing James Blunt. It wasn't quite blokey enough for them.
Oh.
And they threw a 50-cent coin at me and split my head open.
Oh, shit.
So I had claret running down into my eye while I'm trying to sing Goodbye My Lover. So yeah, it takes all types, doesn't it?
It does take all types, and you and I could talk over a beer. We'll talk about all the pub experiences we've had, because I've played in pubs for it would have been 35 years playing in pubs, and I'm going to write a book one day, and I'm sure you could write one too. When you just said there, you're singing that James Blunt song, and it wasn't quite blokey enough. When you went on The Voice, you sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Now, I love people singing that well. I don't love people singing that badly, because it's quite one of those songs. And I remember, really falling in love with the song when Israel is an Hawaiian guy. What's his name? I'll say his name. Kamakawiwioli. Israel Kamakawiwioli. And he is...
And he played it with the ukulele?
Yes. And
amazing.
Yeah, he's died now, and due to health complications. Is a very, very large fella, but he was... that song, the way he did it. Now, I'm going to give you the biggest compliment ever, because I never thought I could hear anybody ever do it as well as him. But when I saw you on The Voice, I was like, and I'm not kissing your bum. My jaw was open, and I was like, holy hell, that is beautiful. So, and I'm not just saying that because you're on the podcast. It was beautiful and very unexpected coming out of your mouth. Like you look at you're a bloke, you're a bloke's bloke, and what a beautiful song. Why did you choose that song?
Honestly, I wanted to show people. I think people expect when I come out to perform that haven't seen me perform, if I've got got the flanny on, the jeans, the boots. They just assume that I'm going to, belt out Jimmy Barnes or some Lee Kernaghan or John Williamson or something like that. And that's just not actually, that's not what I play. It's not how I play. Like I love singer-songwriters, but my voice it has some sort of rasped to it, but it's actually quite like a sweet voice. It's actually, for what I look like, it's actually quite high.
Yeah, it is.
So it was just showing people that sort of juxtaposition between you can look like this and you can sing however you want. I just like that idea of you can look a certain way that doesn't have to translate into anything. Like I'm probably a pretty Aussie looking bloke, but I went to Pony Club as a kid. I've done ballroom dancing. Like I just think everyone should be able to express themselves no matter what they look like.
I agree, and it just goes to show how much we judge people, and how much the first thing we have is a visual of somebody, and most of the time, unless it's an audio, but then we just make the assumption that they're going to be like that. So I absolutely bloody love that song, and it got you it got you moving. It turned the chairs. It kept you in there all the way to the grand final. When you got to the grand final, like, what was the feeling? What was the feeling performing on that? Like, shit, did you stop and go, I can't believe it. Here I am. I'm in the grand final.
Oh, honestly, it was a really surreal feeling. It's a very different world than what I'm from. It's, glitz and glamour and green rooms and getting looked after, and it's just very different than my upbringing and my everyday life. And I was super nervous, but at the point where I got past probably halfway in the competition, um, I really realized that, I mean, I don't have the most classically beautiful voice in the world, but I think everybody, everybody can everybody can sing in their own way, and everyone's got something distinct about how they sing.
Yeah.
And for me, I just try and sing from the heart. That's all I think you can do. And people like it, they do, and if they don't, that's okay too.
Well, I love that philosophy, because you and I had a conversation less than a week ago, and you said, the best thing is to not actually care what people think. That's one of the best things. So just get up there and do your thing without worrying about what people think.
Well, if you do care too much what people think, I just don't think you have a fun life.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Absolutely. What do you reckon when you were, you get to the grand final? What do you think that experience is teaching or has taught your kids?
Honestly, I mean, Katie's probably a little bit too young to sort of realize at the moment. But for Bella, I think it's really opened her eyes up to a different world than what she would normally see. And also, she's seen her dad have a go at something that's really challenging, and she could see that I was nervous. She could see that there is you do have an ability as a human to push through nerves and achieve things that you don't think you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind if Bella cleans toilets or she sings at the opera house or anywhere in between, but at least she knows that she can have a crack at something and succeed if she really wants to.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That is like, that is fantastic. Now you work with Jessica Malboy. Everybody's, we always wonder, are they nice? Are they really as nice as they seem on TV? So I believe she is, and I believe you've said many times that she was wonderful to you. So
yeah, honestly, when you sort of first approach it, I really thought that most celebrities would be a little bit, sort of in their own world, dismissive, and just, sort of in their own bubble. But I couldn't fault Jess Malboy. She is an incredible human, just a really down to earth, loving and caring human. She was incredible to me, really great to my family. Spent a bit of time chatting with my kids, my partner Beck, my mum, and she made the experience really fun, and I also learned a lot off her. Not probably from a technical point of view, but just from believing, a point of really believing in what I can do.
yeah, I was going to ask you that. What do you think is the greatest lesson you learned from her? Just the confidence bit, mostly.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, obviously, I picked up a few little tricks and stuff vocally from her, and little things here and there. But honestly, it's just making sure that you believe in yourself, and you're willing to, you're willing to push yourself. Because often with my voice, I would say things like, "Oh no, my voice can't do that,"
Yeah,
or and try and limit myself.
yeah.
But she taught me, use the emotion of a song and push it. And, even sometimes if it's not pitch perfect, people can feel pain or an emotion in what you're singing, and it doesn't actually have to be perfect. It still cuts through.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. I'm not the best singer in the world, but people seem to love it, and they say that I can feel you. And that was one thing that I taught myself. I don't even know how I learned it. People would say to me, how do you sing? And I used to say, imagine that you're the person that wrote that song, and imagine the emotion of when you're actually writing that song, and sing it like that. And that makes such a difference. That's huge. I agree.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for me, when I sing at my best, I've almost got to be on the borderline of if it on the borderline of tears. It
Yep.
sounds strange,
Yep.
but you've got to really be in that moment and feeling every part of the song.
Yeah.
It's just you got to be careful not to tip over into tears because once you start crying, you can't sing.
No, because I tried to sing Puff the Magic Dragon several times. It's at several venues, several gigs, and you know what? I just burst in tears and I can't finish the bloody song. So
Yeah, that's right.
I agree. Would you recommend the voice for young budding musicians? Would you recommend going through that experience?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think it's amazing thing to do. I'm just beeping some sheep out of the way of a gateway, Karen. But honestly, I think it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
You need to have your head screwed on, and don't let D grade or C grade celebrity affect you. It's just really, I mean, I love the fact that I sing, but at the end of the day, I'm just making a nice sound with my face. It's not any more important than anybody else's job. I just happen to really love what I do, and I love showing it to people, and I love that it helps other people sometimes. But don't get ahead of yourself. It's just like being a great electrician or a great author, or there's a massive amount of skills out there. I
Yeah.
just happen to have this one.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying. I remember playing at Beaconsfield pub and I don't mind naming pubs. I don't give a shit. And there was a cricket club. So I hope that cricket club's listening and they know they're a pack of assholes. But they were just being drunken scumbags, this whole club. And they were just horrible. And they were just being derogatory to women. And I turned to my drummer and I just said, I'm going to smack my bloody guitar over their fucking heads before the end of the night because I can't stand them. And he said to me, look at the lady up the back in the green jumper. And I looked at her and she was on a table by herself and she was immersed in every song. Do you know? And he said,
Just loved it.
it's the number one, Karen. It's the one person that you're doing it for. And that changed everything. That was about 20 years ago. And, when you said then you just might make a difference to somebody. If you can make a difference to that one person, that's all that matters. Now, Mick, you're driving around a car. If anyone's watching this visually, Mick's bobbing up and down like one of those little things that you stick on your dashboard.
Bobblehead doll.
Yeah, bobblehead doll. But he's driving around the paddock. Mick, politics. Now, you are a member of the National Party, and we're not going to get judgy on different parties because God knows there's enough fighting going on around the world. Why did you go into politics? Well, you actually stood for your seat, and put yourself right up there to be voted for.
Yeah, and for me, I don't mind what political party people are affiliated with, or what they enjoy, what they want to do with their lives. For me, I just identified with the Nats because I just love the people within the Nats and love that they advocate for their communities. And that's what I want to do: advocate for my community, and hopefully make a difference to my kids' life and make sure that country areas are a place where they can go to a decent hospital, get an ambulance when they call one, have a decent road network, get a job, have some good training when they're older, and be able to stay here if they want to. It's pretty simple. It's almost a little selfish. I just want it to be a great place for my kids to grow up. And what really astounds me in politics is there's a bit of theatre involved, especially when you see question time or stuff like that. If you think that's what politics is, that's just a snapshot and a bit of I think it's theatre for people to see. I've been fortunate enough to sit in on Senate select committees, particularly a recent one into rural banking. So that sat in our local town of Sale. And I sat there in the room and I saw Peter Wish-Wilson from the Greens, who me and him disagree on probably 98% of issues. I saw Malcolm Roberts from One Nation. We also probably disagree on quite a lot. Some Liberal senators, Matt Canavan from the Nationals, and Raph Ciccone from the Labor Party. They work together so well to actually try and get something good done in the world, it really restored my faith a little bit in politics, and made me realize that even though you see those theatrics, people are working hard together. And I think we don't have to agree on everything to try and come together and make the world a better place. I mean, I'm an advocate for, say, the forestry industry. I'm really passionate about it. I'm a member of the board of Forest and Wood Communities Australia. I really believe in timber. But I understand that some people don't. But we should be able to have a discussion without either of us being labelled, either I'm being labelled as an environmental vandal, or them being labelled as as a far left whatever. We should be able to come together, discuss, and find the best path forward. Disagree where we must, but try and work together where we can.
Well, I think that's the only way to move forward, isn't it? And when you're saying about, all of your little group, all from being different parties and actually sitting down, working together, that's what the world has to be. It actually has to be that. And yes, we're all going to disagree. Are you going to keep going? So you stood for the last election and didn't get in, and that's not a reflection of you. That's just a reflection of people often go for the bigger names that they're more familiar with. But are you going to keep standing, or?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about politics, Karen. I love it. I think it's one of the only avenues where someone like myself, who probably knows a little bit about a lot, you don't have to be a specialist to be a politician. You have to understand a variety of issues and try your best to, and be willing to advocate for your community. And, I love where I come from. I love East Gippsland. I've grown up here. I've been here since I was, born. And it's a beautiful place, but there's some real challenges here. Industry transitions, power industry, timber industry. There's a massive amount of issues that are coming up, and we need not just me, but everybody in our local area to really try and get abreast of the issues and try and find a path forward, because we don't want to fall behind. We don't want to become a ghost town or region. We want to make sure that we thrive.
I agree. I was coming back from Echuca last year, and I went through a few little towns that were nothing. Like, you could see that they were towns prior, and there was like a milk bar and a pub, and one in particular, I stopped at, because I just stopped and sat in my car and looked at this town, and there was a pub and a milk bar and something else, and it was just all like a ghost town, and and I just thought, how does this happen? And I get how it happens, but this would have been a thriving town at one point, and when you're talking, what I'm hearing is somebody standing up and saying, we can't let our community get to this, we can't, and perhaps in some of these towns, somebody didn't stand up, or somebody didn't listen to them, or there wasn't enough passion behind it. And I think that's really critical, to say, we've got something here and we all need to put our heads together and make this bloody work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not a subject expert on a lot of the things that are happening, but I try to inform myself as much as I can about what's going on in my community. But I think for people that are really busy, living with their families and going to work and doing sport and all these other things, often they don't have time to really delve deeply into certain issues. But I'm glad that there are certain people out there, not just myself, but there's a multitude of people in our region that are doing really great work on industry transitions and working to make sure that we do thrive as a region. I mean, I think Gippsland has a massive amount going for it. Obviously, agriculture, tourism, forestry. We've got some great manufacturing businesses here. We just need to make sure, like, things change over time. Things aren't static, that. But we need to make sure that if we're transitioning, or we look after people, and we make sure that people don't have to move away if they don't want to, and ensure that there are opportunities for people. I'm lucky. I have a few little fingers in a few different pies, so I can make a decent living. Not rich by any stretch, but I can make a decent living and look after my family. But for people that have been in a certain industry, say forestry or the power industry, for a massive amount of time, and that's all they know, it's exceptionally important that we do not leave these people behind. I mean, just recently, 200 people at Maryvale Paper Mill lost their jobs,
Yeah.
and 200 people making a good living, that out of a community, it makes a dent. And over time, you know, that wouldn't ruin a community of and by itself, but it can be death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And we know we need to apply that first aid now, not wait down the line.
Yeah. I don't disagree with having a forestry industry. What I want to see is to make sure that it's done well. And to make sure that we're both protecting jobs and protecting the environment, because
I agree. I'm third generation timber industry, so probably not your traditional logging industry, but my pa was a sleeper cutter, had commercial firewood contracts all around Gippsland, so forest red gum and yellow box.
Yeah.
Now, the way my pa did things, that is just not feasible now. If somebody did that now, they would be, well, one, they'd probably go to jail, but two, they would be a pariah in their community. Nobody wants things to be done like that anymore. I know I certainly don't.
Yeah.
But the problem is people I think a lot of people have this thing about not in my backyard. So if we don't have a native timber industry here, it means, and look, don't get me wrong, I don't think the timber industry gets everything right 100% of the time. That's not what I'm saying. But we have much more rigorous oversight and legislation than most other countries. Go to Brazil, 60% or close enough to 60% of all logging in Brazil is illegal.
Yeah.
When you go to Bunnings and get your merbu from a certain place overseas, Indonesia or something like that, the controls are nothing like what we have here.
Yeah.
And that is my concern, that people don't want it in their own backyard, but they're happy to, for lack of a better term, rape and pillage another country, and displace indigenous tribes in Brazil, or
the orangutans in Indonesia.
There's so many issues associated with it.
Yeah.
I want a timber industry here. I make no secret about that, but I want it to be done very well as well. And I think while it's not perfect, there needs to be investment made in ensuring that it is done to the best it can be done. But I think here, with the mines we have in Australia and the investments we can make in manufacturing and being efficient with how we do things, we're much better placed to do it well than most other countries.
I think I think Australia is an incredible country, and that's why I'm so hell-bent on what I'm saying too, and agreeing with you, is that we've got to look after it. And that doesn't mean we don't use it, we don't utilize it, none of that. We just have to utilize it well, and make sure that we're looking after future generations, and that we're not, exactly what you're saying, raping and pillaging the whole bloody countryside. But we can do it well. I believe we can do it well, and I believe that the changes that are happening are looking much better. I believe there's a lot more consultation now, and I'm not in the industry, so I'm only going by what I hear and what I feel. But we've got to look after the planet. It actually doesn't matter whether we're talking about fishing, timber, mining. It doesn't actually matter what we're talking about. The fact is that all of us need to pull our bloody heads in and work together, because once the planet's gone, we're screwed. So we've all got to just stop being a dickhead and just work together and work out how the hell can we make this planet sustainable and stick together, so that we might think, well, I'm going to be gone in 20 years, but Christ, don't we care about future generations? We should be caring about future generations. And
yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Like, say, for instance, where I grew up, out near Munro, between Stratford and Sale and East Gippsland. So it's a very small community. There's basically a hall and a few houses, not much else. So I grew up on a farm just near there. And so basically a massive patch of where I come from used to be what's called forest red gum grassy woodland or forest. Now, basically, because it was such great agricultural land, I think there's about 0.5% of it left. Now, nobody wants that to happen to any other type of ecosystem. Definitely not me. So there's definitely things we have to watch. And I want there to be great places for my kids
Yeah.
to go and to utilize as well. I don't think that locking and leaving the bush is the answer, but I don't think that going back to 1930s land clearing is the answer either. We have to find a happy medium,
Yeah.
and have to look after where we come from.
Yep, I agree. Now, getting off that, because not that we're not disagreeing, but it's just moving on, because I want to know what you want to do with your life. And you've just started with Gippsland Community Leadership Program. Just started your another step in your leadership journey, and so. What are you hoping that will lead to? Like, are you hoping that'll lead to a better, like an increase or an amplification or something, a betterment of your music or the community, politics, family? Like, where are you hoping?
So probably all of those. Look, honestly, I love music, Karen. It's a massive thing for me in my life, but my first passion is actually politics and family and community.
Yeah.
For me, doing the leadership program is about becoming a better person, a better leader. I'm learning to be more collaborative, because everything I do in my life is pretty much solo. So I generally work by myself. I play music by myself.
Yeah.
And you, of all people, know that if you want to succeed in life and have a good life, you need to learn to play well with others. And that's, it's something you learn from a small child, but it's also something you need to carry through, your whole life. And I'm just trying to learn to be more collaborative and be more willing to receive people's ideas and hopefully learn some new skills and gain some new knowledge in the process.
Well, you're in with a lovely group, and I've met them all the other night, and what a fantastic group. So I hope I know it will change your life, and I can't wait to see you come out the other side. I already think you're a bloody fantastic bloke, but when you come out the other end with just a few more fine-tuned skills, I reckon you're going to make some really, I don't want to say big changes, but impactful changes, changes that really have a lot of meaning. And, I think that's wonderful.
Well, and I think as humans, if you're not learning, you're not really, you're not going to change. Like, I love the fact that we live in such a safe, wonderful country and region that I have the opportunity to not only look after my family, but gain new skills, train, enhance my leadership skills, all with the help of other members of the community. I've been sponsored to do the program, and I'm very grateful for that. It's not something that I probably expected to do as a younger guy, but through my life and having a family, I think it's led me this way. I just want this place to be great for my kids and other people's kids and future generations, and this sort of just feeds into that.
Yep, it certainly does. I love it. Now, Mick, this podcast is called Get Off the Bench, and I do love to inspire people to get off the bench. You've got off the bench and stepped out of your comfort zone. We've only covered 3 things today, and there's a lot more things that you've actually done. What would you tell people what advice do you want to give to people that are thinking, oh, one day I'd like to do this, one day I'd like to do that, oh, I should do this? What would you tell them?
My advice would be, don't wait. Don't wait until you're the best in the room at something. You've practiced your whole life. Get out there, learn on the job, make mistakes, develop, and change the way you do things as you go along. The worst thing, like for me, I've done a heap of different jobs. I've worked in a heap of different industries, and I have only found, like, I'm nearly 35. I'm about to turn 35 shortly. And I've only just found my passion, the thing that I'm most passionate about, in the last 3 years. And the only reason I eventually found it is because I was willing to try a heap of things along the way. I've worked in retail, farming, forestry. I've had my own mowing business. I've done a heap of different things. And the first time I got in a room and started, being involved in politics, it just was a click moment, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, and that's how I wanted to do something not only good for me and my family, but good for the community.
Yeah.
But it took a massive amount of doing things that I actually found along the way that I didn't enjoy to get to this point.
Yeah. Well, great advice. And I didn't even really get onto this journey that I'm on now until I was 50. That was when I wrote my first book, and I'm 60 in a couple of weeks. So, I think I agree with you. I think just keep trying stuff, and this waiting till you're perfect. I don't know anyone who's perfect, so you can stuff that attitude.
Well, look, Karen, I am seldom the smartest person in a room, and I'm definitely never the best looking, but you just do it anyway.
Oh, well, some might disagree with you about your looks, Mick. You're a charming character. Yeah.
The first time for everything, mate.
That's exactly right. Now, Mick, where can people find you?
Look, you can head on to any of my socials. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, just Mick Harrington Music. Get on there, have a look. I've got, things, music stuff on there, bit of politics stuff, some opinions that people will either agree or disagree with. I'm happy for you to message me and tell me if I'm right or wrong, and we can have a debate. I love a debate. So just, get in and interact and follow the journey. We're going to have a really good next few years, I think.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I'll put that in the show notes anyway. But Mick, I've absolutely loved chatting with you. I'm glad we finally got to do it because I knew it would be a good conversation.
It's always good to talk to you. It's nice to just talk to someone else that is as unashamedly themselves as I am. So it's really good to talk.
Oh, thanks, Mick. Yeah. Well, there's no point being anyone else because they're all taken. So we might as well be ourselves.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so
Cheers,
much
mate.
for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Bye.
All right. See you, Mick. Ta-da.